welcome. After cutting down the massive jungle that was ranking every single Devil May Cry boss, we've decided to get severely ambitious. We have once again decided to climb the mountain and kill the seemingly impenetrable beast, and that is stepping up to Devil May Cry's big brother, Resident Evil, which will involve us ranking most of the games in the series. I only say most because, let's be honest, most of us have lives to live, sights to see, muscle to be gained, and money to be made. So unfortunately, not every single game will be reviewed. So we're deeply sorry to all those Umbrella Corps fans out there. Hey man, maybe one day. As is typical with rankings, these will be based on gameplay, level design, writing, and overall enjoyment.
And as always, if there is a game that you thought should have been ranked lower or higher on the tier list, then please, feel free to post your grievances below, because we'll totally listen. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce you to the Resident Evil backlog. These are little shorts that will be played throughout the different reviews. Think of them like commercials, for example. While none of these will be ranked along with the other games, we thought that some of these projects were too insane to turn away from. These can range from DLCs to unfinished products to whatever the fuck is out there. With all that being said, let us begin. Well, here we are, Resident Evil 3 Remake, the game that many in the community have argued was a major disappointment, especially compared to its predecessor. Let me say that I don't think RE3 Remake is a bad game by any means. I think it accomplishes what it set out to do, but man, this game is fucking bare bones, ain't it? For starters, the game itself is only about 5 hours long. Keep in mind that there's no B-plot with a different character, no bonus content like mercenaries, fourth survivor type shit, so you're pretty much left with one 3-hour story artificially extended to 5. And man, for what we get, it's really fucked up. This must be the longest 5-hour game in existence, because this does not feel like 5 hours at all. This shit feels more like 8 to me. From constant backtracking, fetch quests, enemies that one-shot you, it's no wonder this game becomes a huge slog after a while. And not in that good or challenging way either. I mean in that DMC4 type way. No, please. No, not the forest again, no. Another issue I have with Resident Evil 3 Remake are the characters. Most of the characters that matter in this game are super boring. While some of them are cool, I just can't get into any of these characters because I only see them for like 3 seconds before they just disappear entirely.
Virgil? Oh my god.
The only two that are remotely interesting to me are Jill and Carlos. Both Jill and Carlos have a lot of depth in their personalities that I can only assume is way better compared to their 1999 counterparts. Carlos gets a lot of points in the story that actually make him feel like a cool character, rather than just some side guy like I thought he was. Same thing can be said for Jill. From what I've heard, Jill hasn't had too great of a track record in some of these games. Some of them aren't too good at showing off Jill's personality, but this game does a great job.
Damn! What the fuck?
I can't say the same, however, for many other characters in this game. A lot of them just feel shallow and boring, and I don't really get to even see them for most of the time. Compare this to RE2 Remake's cast of characters, and man, it's just night and fucking day, isn't it? Hey, you guys hear that? Oh shit, what the fuck?
Yeah, you don't even know me. Yeah, you don't even know me. You don't even know me. Yeah, you don't even know. These 16 bars cost 16 cars. Kiss these balls, bitch, we stars. Fuck that shit, you ain't hot like Prince. Got a little shine, but not like this.
While I haven't played the original Resident Evil 3, I'm definitely aware that Nemesis went hard in that game. But a lot of people who have played the remake have actually stated that Nemesis is heavily watered down in this game. Is this true? Actually, I disagree. Throughout playing, I never thought Nemethan lacked that horrifying ass appearance. Along with that aliens ass soundtrack, this motherfucker never stops being a no-good, vociferous, corrupt, iniquitous, malignant, vile piece of shit of despair and despondence who spreads terror and calamity with that foul, fuck ugly, disastrous thing he calls a face. Basically, he gets the job done. His boss fights also go hard as well. While they're pretty much by the numbers over time, the first couple are fucking awesome. And it really lights a small light in this really dark, fucking damp, apocalyptic game that is Resident Evil 3 for me. . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . Despite some of its flaws, I still enjoyed Resident Evil 3 Remake. While it's a major disappointment as a remake, the game by itself is fine. The RE engine, as always, is fucking incredible, and it does a nice job of showcasing the game. The slight gameplay tweaks are also great additions as well, although busted as hell. But holy shit, this game could have been so much better. Luckily, I only paid a small amount of coin for this game, but man, I feel sorry for anyone who had to pay the full 40 bones for this game. You think I should record normal gameplay?
There's nothing wrong with this.
What if people find out?
Find out about what?
What if they figure out this isn't Jill?
That is Jill. What are you? This is Resident Evil 3.
Oh man, you're right.
Who else would that be?
You know, I
Nico
don't know.
Goldstein? Who? What?
Oh, God damn it. Come on, you fucking thing. God. You know what? There we go. As a part of Resident Evil 7's set of downloadable content, Not a Hero makes its way into taking place right after the end of Vanilla RE7, where instead of Ethan Winters, you now take control of Chris Redfield. What? Cool, man. Anyway, as Chris, your main objective of this DLC is to find one of Vanilla RE7's main antagonists. I'm talking about the big boy, Lucas, who was still on that glaggle shit, much like he was in the original game. Throughout this DLC, you'll encounter some pretty interesting shit, including... Oh shit, whoop. As you can see, I'm not a big fan of the Modern Warfare-ass gameplay that goes on during this DLC. Shit like night vision and assault rifles are cool, don't get me wrong, but if I want to play Call of Duty, then I'll download Warzone. This shit needs to stay far away from Resident Evil. Besides the gameplay, the story throughout this game is, well, kinda boring, I won't lie. The whole save your buddies from Lucas thing has already been done in the main game with Zoe and Mia, but this time around I had way less interest. There's also the fact that, unlike Chris's little friends, Zoe, dude, she's a fucking baddie. That alone is a reason to rescue her. Holy shit. And Mia too. Speaking of which, I also really didn't give a fuck about Chris's friends in this game. Sure, the first guy that dies is pretty fucking gruesome, but beyond that, I really don't know any of these soldiers' names, personalities, wives, kids, pets, how much money they have, what their credit card number is, what their address is, nothing. So when these guys end up dying, I don't really feel any sort of guilt like the writers meant to convey. The final boss fight with Lucas is the traditional evil fuck turns into a big hulking pile of shit after his plans fail boss, and is pretty good I guess, but beyond that, this DLC is pretty forgettable. It's cool I guess to get more Lucas, but this isn't exactly what I meant when I said I wish we could have had more Lucas. Damn, I gotta play RE7 again. Hold on, I'll be right back. It's gonna be a minute. Here's an interesting one. Resident Evil 0, the game that takes place shortly before the events of Resident Evil 1. For some reason. I don't know. Don't ask me. Sadly, right off the bat, I just can't like this game. Straight up. Even with Rebecca being in this game, I just can't come to enjoy this piece of shit. And all of it ultimately comes down to the fact that the co-op features in this game are some ass, dude. Holy shit. Never since the fucking housing crisis have I been annoyed by something like this. Everything from the backtracking to the fucking puzzles. There were genuine times while dealing with the co-op features where I straight up wanted to forcefully compete in the fucking Pain Olympics. You know that shit? You know that shit would have been so much better, and the only way to relieve the adrenaline that imbued my hatred for this game. That or a sauna, I love those. If you honestly removed a lot of the co-op features in this game and just left one person, this game would have been great. Everything from enemy design, weapons, level design, puzzles, all that bullshit is standard RE, and it's really good. Hell, the training facility is straight up a ripoff of the Spencer Mansion, but with different rooms. and that shit is awesome. You know what isn't awesome? There's no item box in this fucking game. Yeah. Now usually in a game like RE4 or RE5 or even Outbreak, I usually don't complain because of the design. Those games were meant to work without typical survival horror tropes because they're, well, not survival horror. And without an item box, you will constantly struggle throughout this game. I don't give a fuck who you are. Now sure, you can say it's probably a skill issue. You can say, bro, all you have to do is insert the sponge gnar and shoot the Satyragus twice. Yeah, you know, maybe you're right, but my point still stands. Can you imagine playing a game like Doom Eternal, but instead of freely switching weapons like 2016, you can only select 2 weapons before each level this time? Sure, it's definitely a challenge, but that shit would completely fuck up the game's mechanics, and the item box does a very similar thing here. Without an item box, you now have to leave items all over the ground, making you backtrack everywhere you go, extending the hours of this game from 3 to fucking 74, and I hate that. Like, nothing would have changed if they didn't put an item box in there. It's not like the game would have become completely different if they just put one back in. It's not that. Oh, shit. The story in this game is peak Resident Evil, and I don't mean this in a good way. The plot and the characters are so fucking boring. This shit produces so much free melatonin that not even Wesker can save this game. That shit's fucked up. Characters like Billy are an example of why you end up meeting the Sandman. The leech-infested writers took a character that could have been good, but yet slept through all the shit that makes him a good character. Damn. The only time I was genuinely interested in the Billy lore was when he played the piano. That shit was fucking awesome, dude. But besides that, there's nothing else. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god, how is he playing this? Billy! Billy! Oh my god. Dude, how did he do that? Same shit can be said for other characters like the Leech Man, Birkin. Yeah, he gets a part in this game. And any other fucking jabronis that appear on the screen. They have no value whatsoever. Even Resident Evil 1, as shitty as the game's writing is in there, is still a lot better than this game. God damn it, this shit's some ass, dude. Yeah, you know what? I honestly really don't want to talk about this game anymore. I gave this game a shot, and honestly, it didn't really deliver the same as I thought it would. If you're a huge fan of survival horror era RE, I guess you can buy this game. Personally, I'd save your shillings for other games in the series. Unless you're a really big fan of this game, good for you. But personally, I just don't see anything good in this game. Also, Joe Biden is in this game. Holy shit, what's up, man?
Woo! Yeah, baby! Fuck yeah! RE4 VR is literally fucking insane. I've played my fair share of VR titles, and I can say with complete and utter certainty that RE4 VR is honestly the best VR game you can get your damn hands on. This is it. VR doesn't get any better than this. This shit pukes and pisses all over Boneworks, Pavlov, Walking Dead, Beat Saber, Blade and Sorcery, Half-Life Alyx, Superhot, even RE7 VR. The shooting in this game is smoother than fucking marble, and the mechanics from regular RE4 translate effortlessly into the RE4 environment. I didn't even consider putting this in the video at first because RE4 is already here, but the relatively recently added Mercenaries mode made this absolutely necessary to discuss. This shit blows regular RE4 Mercenaries out of the fucking water and into Kingdom Come. You got Hunk, Ada, KRAUSER, and Wesker in fucking VR, dude. And don't even get me started on the challenge modes. These fuckheads went all out on this update, and it still blows my mind how fun this is. Too bad it's still an Oculus exclusive, though. Fuck you, Facebook. Alright, yup, this game was a bad idea. I don't even need to review this shit. RE6 is not a good game, not even with friends. What is there even to say about it? I played this game to completion and still have nothing noteworthy to discuss. I feel empty because of this shit. I'd honestly rather hang off of a tightrope by my balls over a flaming circus net than touch this game ever again. What a harrowing fucking experience, dude. This game is just so fucking boring. At least there was something to say about RE0. But here, there's nothing. Here we are, folks, the bottom of the fucking barrel. Enjoy your stay. If there is anything positive to say, Leon's campaign is alright. The Tall Oaks outbreak is pretty cool. Leon rides a bus, it's cool. Chris and his brother Pierre's is cool too. Let's see. Sherry's here. Remember Sherry, guys? Yeah, I'm at a total fucking loss. Next entry, please. I don't want to talk about this game, dog. Many a Resident Evil fan will often say that Resident Evil 3 Nemesis is one of the best Resident Evil games of all time, with its praise lying in its scary atmosphere, horrifying antagonist, and its thrilling story. This one has got to be the best, right? Well, obviously,
It's not.
you know, I really wanted to like this game. I did. I tried to. I gave it a second chance, then a third, and even a fourth. But I can say with complete certainty that this game fucking blows donkey cocks in hell.
Stars.
I'll start off with the things I liked about RE3, because the things about this game I did like, it did with flying colors. For starters, RE3 has a stellar atmosphere. Like with its predecessors RE1 and 2, the fixed camera and pre-rendered backgrounds pack each area with a slew of visual storytelling, and create a frame-perfect image of what the developers want you to see in that specific moment. The streets of Raccoon City look positively fucked up beyond all repair, and honestly looks pretty good even today. Granted, this gameplay is being recorded on an emulated version with a visual overhaul. Having to explore the ruined remains of Raccoon City and seeing the bloody, chaotic aftermath of the outbreak just sit in this still, unmoving quietude is genuinely fucking creepy. For most of the beginning of the game, there's hardly any music to accompany your first foray into the world. It's just silence. Absolute silence. Really the only time any music crops up is in a save room or when Nemesis is lurking around the corner, and believe me, I have a couple of fucking things to say about this motherfucker in a minute, just you wait. But back to the music. It's used sparingly, only really for dramatic moments and other specific encounters and scenes. The soundtrack for this game is pretty damn good. It both fits and adds to the game's grim, forlorn atmosphere. Some tracks are just pure fucking evil, like the Clock Tower theme for example, but the save room theme for this game I think is pretty mediocre. To me, it just kinda sounds like a Diet RE2 save room theme.
Go through that burning door, probably. Okay. Spider-Man. Stars.
The gameplay in RE3 still holds up, for the most part. Tank controls obviously will take some getting used to for some people, but I had no issues with it. Again, for the most part. Ammo in RE3 isn't nearly as scarce as you'd think. Even on the regular difficulty, I found myself with a healthy supply of shotgun, pistol, and grenade rounds, and never really feeling too short on munitions. This can mostly be attributed to the addition of gunpowder, and a reloading tool which Jill can utilize to make her own ammo en masse. Like literally, you will be mass producing this shit in the palm of your hand like a fucking African warlord. In addition to being able to mix powders to create different types corresponding to different guns and ammo varieties. This mechanic is alright, I guess. It works, and still works in the modern games / remakes, so good on Capcom, I suppose. Anyways, A result of often having a surplus of ammo, enemies in this game felt a little less tanky than usual, just because I had more shit to throw at them. But in reality, zombies still take magnums to the fucking noggin. Dogs are fucking annoying to deal with, but really, what game aren't they annoying to deal with in? You got big spiders that poison you from the first 2 games, those fucking evil sonar bugs that skulk in the alleyways and construction sites, standard Resident Evil shit. What I did notice is that you would fight zombies in way larger groups than you would have in RE2 or 1. Like, I'm talking 5+ groups of these guys, full-on undead G-Virus death squads patrolling the streets. Again, this makes sense because of the scale of the game. It's bigger than its forerunners. We're in a big-ass city now, with blocks and sectors, not just isolated to a mansion or a police station anymore. Honestly, at first, I liked the increased scale of the world space, and they really did make you feel like you were in this big dead ghost town, but it also made the backtracking at least 10 fucking times more annoying, especially when you gotta repair the tram and you gotta walk your ass back from downtown to uptown for the oil, and then back to downtown for the power cable, and then right the fuck back to uptown for the fire hose, then a detour to left town for those herbs you missed, then back up to uptown for the other half of the fucking mixed oil, and by that time, 8 hours have passed in real time, half of it spent watching the same fucking 10 door opening sequences 80 fucking times, over and over again. It was more bearable for the Spencer Mansion and police station because the scale was smaller, but when you've gotta literally run across an entire goddamn city for like a soda can's worth of motor oil, it gets real fucking irritating really fast. Another big change worth mentioning would be the dodge mechanic, an ability that, well, is self-explanatory. It lets you dodge out of the way of an incoming attack. I sort of forgot about it until midway through the game when I accidentally used it when getting crowded by a horde of zombies, but I'm not gonna brush it under the rug. It's a cool idea. It's kinda executed with a bit of jank, but it has its use in the game regardless of the fact. The story and characters in RE3 are campy and goofy, normal writing as far as the RE games go, and doesn't really go above and beyond when it comes to its narrative. It's really just about Jill escaping Raccoon City, and I can appreciate the fact that the story's at least on the simple side. Carlos and the others are alright, but again, nothing to write home about. Carlos also, for some reason, I don't know how I even noticed this, but Carlos also, for some reason, completely loses his Hispanic accent midway through the campaign, and just sounds like a normal guy.
That's a lot of ground to cover. I don't think we can make it on foot.
He turned into like a
The main problem we have is
normal
that the landing
American
zone is
like
cut off
guy.
from
He
here by
doesn't
the
even
fire.
have his Hispanic
Dude,
accent
I'm
anymore.
Mexican,
So
I
we have
swear.
no choice but to use...
That works for me. Good plan, sir.
Okay,
Where's his
people,
accent?
let's get moving.
Like fucking Capcom picked this dude up off the streets of LA and put him in the recording booth. But that's not really a big issue. My big issue with this game is him. This motherfucker. This dickhead. I was looking forward to encountering Nemesis. He's the main antagonist, the poster boy of the game. A standout character in the RE series and a standout character in Capcom's gargantuan character roster. I wanted to see why this guy was such a big deal, and why he'd struck a chord with so many people throughout the years. For me, and from this point forward, I am completely willing to give this game the benefit of the doubt. Maybe I just really fucking suck at this game. Maybe I just didn't dodge enough. I might just be retarded. I am fully willing to admit any number of these. But for me, and me personally, Nemesis is the single absolute worst fucking boss I have ever fought in my entire life. I cannot, for the life of me, recall a single encounter that was even remotely fun. Again, maybe that's the point. Maybe Nemesis isn't supposed to be a fun battle, and is actually intended to be harder than nailing your dick and balls to a wooden plank with your hands tied behind your fucking back. But regardless, I still think this shit was coded by actual monkeys on Cold War era typewriters. Allow me to start with his moveset. What the actual fuck is this one-shot ability? What is that? How is that fair? It's certainly not unavoidable, and you have 2 chances, exactly 2 chances, to break free from it. So why is it such a big problem? The fucking inputs to escape from the move in question are so retardedly inconsistent, it made me wonder if it was actually RNG or not. No, I've actually been thoroughly convinced it's RNG at this point. My controller actually died when he was mid-grapple, and Jill still somehow broke free, to my surprise. I didn't input anything the entire time. Supposedly Nemesis just magically lost his grip. Meanwhile, literally any other time, I'm going to war on my fucking controller over here, rotating my right stick at Mach 5 and mashing my buttons at the speed of fucking stupid. And despite my efforts, bam, you died, fucking retard. Wow, my bad. I guess I just didn't mash hard enough. I'm fully aware that this just sounds like a massive tard meltdown over something so small and nitpicky, but I spent literal fucking hours trying to kill Nemesis at the clock tower only to get goo goo gaga'd by this parasite grapple time and time again. I even went as far as to looking up walkthroughs and gameplay of this exact encounter, and for some unknown fucking reason, Nemesis just so happened to have a bazooka during their fights. Something I noticed made the fight much easier, but there's no bazooka in my fight. No, not mine. Carlos blew up his bazooka in the cutscene prior, so in my game, Nemesis rushes straight at you right off the bat. Maybe I was mistaken somehow. You know, I was playing on the GameCube version. I don't exactly know all the differences. Maybe I triggered something earlier in the game. Maybe I had some kind of fucking haunted creepypasta copy where Carlos is actually sentient, possessed, or some shit. Or perhaps my copy is simply personalized for my own fine-tuned suffering. Whatever the case was, nothing I found online could ease my pain, and so I threw in the towel. I couldn't bear listening to that fucking awful intro cutscene action movie music track for the 60,000th fucking time, nor could I stomach looking at Jill's smug fucking look in the inventory menu anymore, silently mocking me with each death. And honest to God, I absolutely could not stand hearing Nemesis groan "stars" and then scream his fucking head off again for like the 80th time that night. I was done, and frankly tired of this game. I don't really know what else to say. His design goes hard, at least. That's one positive. I guess I also like the decision system, which adds some replayability on repeated playthroughs. Not like I ever want to really play this again, but anyways, in all honesty, RE3 isn't as bad as I make it out to be. I personally just ran into a lot of problems with Nemesis, but your mileage may vary. I just think it could have been better, which is why it's on this spot on the list. Fuck, man.
Going into this backlog, I was originally going to review Resident Evil Survivor, a pointless rail shooter released for the original PlayStation, but then I realized that a nerd video has actually been made on this game, so I pretty much knew then that I couldn't do this game justice as well as James Rolfe did. So surprisingly though, after some digging, I actually found out that there's a sequel to this game. Yep, Resident Evil Survivor 2, Code Veronica. Wow. Well, let's take a look and see if this piece of shit is better than the first, huh? Well, shit. The first thing I find fucking hilarious about this game is that, unlike its predecessor, which actually had an original story, this game just combines itself with Code Veronica. That's a little odd. It's not that I hate Code Veronica or anything, but I honestly expected it to be like Raccoon City, like 75% of the other fucking side games released for the Resident Evil series are. In this game, there's a few different modes you can play. There's arcade mode, which is basically just you shooting zombies. And then there's dungeon mode, which I genuinely don't know what it is. I got lost like halfway through. Please tell me what this fucking thing is. The only notable thing I can genuinely say that is actually cool about this is Nemesis is somehow in this game for some fucking reason. I don't even know. But besides that, fuck this shit. This shit sucks, dog. Go play something else. Please.
I'm not even sure where to really start with Resident Evil Revelations. This is such a weird-ass title in the Resident Evil series, with much of that strangeness owed to this game originally being released on the 3DS, as well as being a product of that bizarre, awkward phase of the Resident Evil games, when the series was on a steep decline with RE6. I wasn't really expecting to like Revelations, but I ended up actually somewhat enjoying it more than I had anticipated. While this might sound like praise, it's not hard to be pleasantly surprised when your expectations are as low as possible. The gameplay in Revelations is just really weird. It's not necessarily bad, as much as the mechanics are just incredibly streamlined. This is probably the most casual and dumbed down version of the Resident Evil gameplay loop out of any entry on this list. There is literally no inventory system whatsoever. Your herbs are automatically stored and are hotkeyed, as well as giving you maximum health upon use. You get a max of 3 weapons at a time, each one with an ammo limit, in addition to ammo being found simply fucking everywhere. There's an item box too, for some reason. I don't know. You get more weapons throughout the story, and its sole use is just switching between which 3 you want to take. It's also used to apply weapon upgrades, which was this mechanic I admit I completely forgot about until I got to the final boss. Probably the most noteworthy thing pertaining to novel mechanics in Revelations is the scanner tool. This thing's use in actual gameplay, thankfully, doesn't feel forced, but it just falls flat. You can use it to basically spawn in ammo to the point where you will never fucking run out, or scan enemies to give yourself an extra heal. It's an interesting idea, but again, this shit is just so fucking weird. Like, do we really need this? Anyways, the only other thing worth mentioning would be the dodge, which I don't ever remember any sort of explanation for how it works, so most of the time I just twirl my left stick around like a fucking spastic and just pray that something happens. The enemies in this game are also just really strange. They're like weird blobs of nothing that are pretty easy to kill with a headshot or two. But to their credit, I guess the boss variants are cool too. I guess. Not really. Nothing really had me jumping out of my damn seat. I can say, however, I hated the giant freak fish with the parasites. Not because it was hard, but because it was just so fucking boring laying into this asshat with the minigun. That whole section felt like a big snooze fest. The final boss itself was actually pretty cool, design and gameplay wise, although it was kind of weird that this dude literally has like superpowers now and can fucking teleport and create doppelgangers. This motherfucker took the devil virus or some shit. One thing I noticed between Revelations and other Resident Evil games is that Revelations puts a greater focus on story and characters, for better and for worse. This game's story is so fucking crazy, I could hardly keep track of the plot twist and narrative curveballs they're constantly throwing at me. Basically, the game opens with a news report covering the fall of this seaborne city called Terra Grigia or some shit, which meets its fate at the hands of Veltro, a terrorist organization who unleashed a bioterrorist attack upon the peaceful little maritime utopia. The city gets nuked by a space laser and sinks into the sea, with the ghostly remains still being visible from the nearby shore over a year later, where the game begins. You'd think with such a banger of a fucking idea, the devs would set the majority of the game here, or at least a sizable portion, where we get to explore the submerged ruins of Terra Grigia, right? Well, prepare to be fucking disappointed, because the entire game takes place on a damn boat. We only get a smattering of actual in-game interaction with Terra Grigia, with some flashback missions that reside solely in these uninspired office corridors and like a lobby. That's it. This is honestly a textbook example of wasted potential. The devs had such a great setting with so much potential and just threw it to the wayside like a used condom. The majority of the game is set on the Queen Zenobia, where fan favorite character Jill Valentine is searching for her old partner, the one and only Chris Redfield. Jill is paired up with this guy whose name I completely forgot, and they're looking around for Chris, and literally seconds after Jill says, "Yeah, I'm gonna go look for Chris," she finds him tied up in her room. This right here is where the game hits you with the most mind-bending plot twist ever seen in fiction. This isn't Chris. It's fake. It's fake Chris. They made a fake Chris.
What?
I don't know what to say. This is just the first of many hijinks this fucking game will pull on you. Later on, we learn that Chris is fine, and he has his own partner, Jessica, a character I am convinced was fucking AI generated or something. Actually, the rest of the story can wait. Can we please talk about Jessica for a moment? Who the fuck designed this shit, dog? She literally has an entire ass cheek hanging out of her wetsuit and tries getting into Chris's pants for the entire duration of the game. It's like the devs Google searched bimbo and used the first image result as the basis for this character design. Anyways, they're sent to save Jill and the other dude from certain death, but when they reach the room that Jill's trapped in, they're not there. There was a second identical ship with the same bioweapon infestation, same layout, same blood stains, gore everywhere, everything. But it's different this time. Completely different ship, guys. Completely different. Chris just so happens to be on the fucking Queen Suchomimus or whatever the fucking ship was called. Who cares anymore? I don't know. But it's not over yet. There's more bullshit where that came from. Even later in the story, the crazy, evil, bearded dude who's responsible for all this shit makes his presence known to our main characters. His name's like Morgan Lansdale, I think. And basically says, yeah, I'm gonna use my space laser to destroy the boat. We see a boat get blown up, but it was a fake out. He actually just destroyed the identical boat to get a rise out of everyone. Why? Why the fuck did he do that when he could have just killed Jill and Chris and gotten it over with? Who fucking knows anymore? The last fucking straw for me was trying to... I can't even talk right. For me, was finding out that there weren't just 2 identical ships, because we couldn't just stop at 2. No. But 3 of them. This game takes place almost entirely on 3 ships that look the same. The only difference is that the 3rd one is underwater. What? Wow. The reason why I'm so burned over this shit is that these are just lame-ass, surface-level, Scooby-Doo-ass fake-outs that have no nuance at all. Quite literally just a basic subversion of expectations with nothing more underneath. Maybe that's my fault, expecting a semi-interesting story from a Resident Evil game, but that might just be me. Now, there were some other things in the story. There were some other settings, too. They were like in a mountain range or some shit. Like, it literally looked like it was out of Gears of War or something. There's this whole section where Chris, like, falls down a cliff and he has to be saved by Jessica. And the whole time, it's just sitting there waiting for Jessica to save him. And she's just taking her sweet fucking time going down this fucking mountain. And when she gets there, all she does, she just helps him up. He limps for 2 seconds and then he's fine. What the fuck? He could have just gotten up himself. Anyway, there were some references to Dante's Divine Comedy, which I thought was cool, but they didn't really seem that significant outside of Capcom really just saying, hey, look how interesting our story is by referencing shit. With all that being said, by the end of the game, this ride was so insane, I honestly ended up kind of liking the story just due to how ridiculous the twists and double crosses were. It's not really a good story, but it was goofy enough to the point where I didn't really care anymore. Well, Resident Evil Revelations is certainly not a perfect game by any measure. In fact, it's really lackluster. But it's a fun game at the very least. There's not much else to say that hasn't already been said. The story is fucking bananas. The gameplay is dead simple with not much complexity. And visually is not winning any awards. Regardless, there are worse games in the series, which earns this game the spot on the list.
I'm gonna name it Brian.
Corkus.
Alvin and the Chipmunks.
I'm gonna get a Macedon named Alvin.
Alvin, Simon, and Theodore.
Q Salmer Joe.
I'd fuck the shit out of that thing.
Resident Evil Revelations 2 is probably the most forgettable mainline Resident Evil game on this list. This game tries to do so much shit in the tiny span of its 4 episodes, and none of it ends up being very memorable. Despite this, I had an inkling of hope that I'd enjoy it more than the first Revelations game, and oddly enough I did, but really only marginally so. There's not really much to say about this game that hasn't already been said about the first one, so I'll try to keep this as short as possible, because despite me liking this game only a tiny bit more, I'm still just fucking sick of looking, talking, and thinking about it. I'm really just sick of playing any game from this shitty era of the Resident Evil games, so let's just get this over with. Rev 2's gameplay feels smoother than the first games, which was a very, very pleasant surprise. The stupid ass scanner shit is gone, there's an actual inventory now, you can combine items in your inventory again, the item box is replaced with a workbench, you can finish downed enemies on the floor, so far so good. Overall it feels less barren than before, but then we get to the weird shit. Rev 2, unfortunately, released during, you know, that era of the Resident Evil games, so there's co-op mechanics in this game too, of course. They're implemented sort of better than Rev 1, I guess. You have this fucking Lego Star Wars ass ability to switch between characters at will, since one is suited for shooting and the other one plays like a support role. While all this sounds pretty fleshed out, this shit is just so far removed from what was once considered standard Resident Evil gameplay. There's so much bloat here that the game pretty much loses all sense of identity regarding its status as a Resident Evil game. It's not awful gameplay, but it's not really what you think when imagining survival horror mechanics. I don't even fucking know, man. This shit was just tiring at this point. The enemies aren't even zombies anymore, just these diabolical infected lab spawn dudes or whatever. Who even fucking cares anymore? Fucking Pyramid Head is in this game too, because Capcom has officially exhausted all possible creative thought when developing this game. The fucking Green Goblin could have shown up as a mid-game boss, and I wouldn't have even questioned it at this point. It wouldn't matter. This shit nearly killed the franchise. Capcom just threw whatever bullshit they could find at the wall and hoped any of it stuck. There's nothing special about this game's story, and it's about as unremarkable as the first games. The game is split down the damn middle between 2 stories. One centered around Claire Redfield and Moira, who just so happens to be Barry's daughter, you know, the fucking Jill Sandwich guy. And Barry also just so happens to be the center of the game's other story, along with this psychic child, Natalia. The characters are fine, and to be honest, I like them more than the fucking circus sideshow that was the Rev 1 crew, mostly because Jill always felt like a blank piece of paper in whatever game she's in. Chris is cool though, I love Chris. Anyways, Claire and Moira just work really well together despite how fucking weird the writing is in this game, and I just think that Barry is cool. Actually, let's talk about the writing for a bit. Who in the world was writing the lines for some of these characters? There's that one fucking Mexican dude that, like, his entire script is just like balls. He just screams balls for the entire time he's on screen. And possibly the most egregious example, whatever the fuck, what are Moira's lines even supposed to be sometimes? Who the fuck says shit like this, bro? I could find them entertaining for the most part, since this, oh my god, I can't even speak, but I could find them entertaining for the most part. Like, I guess the absurdity was enough to keep them entertaining and overshadow the fact that these swears are far too descriptive to be actually taken seriously. Back to the story, this shit has got me totally fucked up. Claire and Moira are in this organization, TerraSave, or something along those lines, and they're at an office party. Then out of nowhere, the fucking feds burst through the window, everyone's kidnapped, and sent to a remote island. Claire and Moira awake in a prison with colored bracelets, and the game starts. The actual setting is alright. The island feels like the third act of RE4, only if it was stripped of all personality. The prison is okay. The town area is mediocre. The tower is cool too. I think there's a factory or something. I don't really remember. It all kind of blends together into one big grayish red blur. The environments felt like a weird cross between something out of Silent Hill, a little bit of Stalker, and Half-Life 2 of all things. Think, you know, Ravenholm. I think the dilapidated Eastern European looking visuals really gave me that vibe of the latter two. And honestly, I liked it. I'll admit it, I'm a sucker for that shit. But that doesn't excuse this game from being objectively god-awful. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. You know what, I don't even want to explain half of the fucking story. I'll just spoil this shit right here, right now. Basically, Albert Wesker had a sister, her name is Alex. She went to this island in the middle of fucking nowhere and brought prosperity to the natives. She also used them for human experimentation and developed like a modified T-virus that triggers from fear. Alex does all of this for reasons, but her biggest motive is achieving immortality or something. And I think she wanted to put her consciousness into the little Natalia girl, who literally does not experience fear whatsoever, and that's like her thing. That's why Alex is like fiending for this child. And she's gonna be like reborn in this kid or some shit. I don't know. If none of this makes sense, then you'd be right to be confused, because it doesn't. The writing is fucked. It's a shame too, considering Rev 2 is probably the most character heavy, story focused out of all the Resident Evil games, yet fails spectacularly in both areas. Something about it just feels so fucking detached from the rest of the games. It's honestly no surprise people forget about this one. It's almost kind of sad, really, because it tries hard to tell a story, but it just falls completely flat. There's a lot more story I'm omitting here, like Moira's whole backstory and her reluctance to use guns and other shit like that, but you're not missing out on much. My biggest negative with this game, basically what prevented this from ranking any higher, was when I arrived at the literal finale of the game, standing in the arena of the final boss, and my fucking game soft locks. For no reason. Easily the biggest fucking kick in the balls that this game could have sent me off with. I was considering placing this above RE5, honestly, just because I like this game more from a visual standpoint, but no. I dropped that consideration real fucking quick. I even tried switching to mouse and keyboard, but to no avail. I was tired of this shit and ended it there. Went and watched the final boss cutscene on YouTube and called it a day. And it's too bad, since this game's finale is pretty cool too, but I can't even fucking show it to you or review it, since I can't even finish the fucking game! Even so, I think that really just sums up Rev 2. It is a game that will leave you feeling wholly unsatisfied, will leave you feeling empty and frustrated. I'm gonna stop talking about this game now. This script has gone on for far too long. I've said enough.
I'll be honest, Resident Evil shouldn't be played on portable consoles, straight up. Especially the fucking Game Boy Color of all consoles. Maybe I'm just an elitist asshole, but Resident Evil is best played sitting down, looking at a TV screen in the dark. This shit is just Mime City level disgusting though. Everything from the shitty 8-bit graphics to the fucking ear-piercing sounds that pollute my ears is just fucking disgusting. Oh my god. The first game I want to talk about is Resident Evil 1 for the Game Boy. Yeah, that's right. This game was completely scrapped due to it, well, looking like complete shit. And while I could go on talking about this game, let me just tell it to you straight. If you strapped me down to a chair and told me to look at this game for the rest of my life, I'd simply force myself to choke on my own fucking spit. No way I'm doing this shit, dude. RE Gaiden isn't any better, by the way. The game itself, much like its horribly conjoined brother, looks like donkey shit on an infested plate, dude. Holy shit, man. These games make me want to fucking load up playr.com. Oh. Damn it.
Oh my god!
Greirat here.
Where did he come from? That son of a bitch!
Resident Evil 5 in a single-player experience is repetitive and tedious. You'll find yourself skipping, ignoring, or downright forgetting the main story as it does little to nothing to draw on the player's attention.
Oh shit.
Oh wait, yeah, we weren't supposed to kill her. Jill!
Near the final parts of the game, puzzles are extremely overdone and it makes you want to put bamboo shoots under your toenails and rip them off rather than continue through that hell.
No!
Oh my god. Oh!
Oh, that actually does kill you.
The multiplayer experience, however, is definitely where it's at if you're looking for entertainment instead of 10 plus hours of mundane voice acting and the most nauseating camera and movement you've ever seen in a video game.
Shut up! Shut up!
Come on, go!
Okay, Roger. Roger. Okay. Roger.
There's not really much to say about this game other than it's a forgettable experience and will leave you feeling appreciative that it's over and you don't have to go through it ever again.
Here it is! It's coming! Yes! Oh, there's different buttons you gotta press. What just happened? What happened? No.
Is the screen just frozen for you too?
Chris disappeared. the boulder one. What the fuck just happened? Lactation. As a part of Resident Evil 3 Remake. Oh god. It's Resident Evil Resistance. So what is Resident Evil Resistance exactly? Well, that's a really good question to ask considering Capcom and Valve went out of their way to make sure you don't know shit. Seriously, dude? This game, out of all the shitty ass games on Steam, is hidden? There are games literally dedicated to making sure that they are horrible games that you pay for, and yet they are still available to the naked eye on your screen for money. That's just terrible, man. Well, after usurping my grand power to find this game, I can finally give you a rundown on what you've been missing out on. And man, let me tell you, it's groundbreaking shit we've got here. Basically, what you do is you play as a set of characters I've never fucking heard of before. Or have I? Basically what you do is you play in a match with 4 people for a couple of minutes. Then you quit the game out of sheer boredom, and instead you boot up Sid Meier's Civilization 5, baby. Yes! Kino! That right there is what you should be playing, not this fucking stupid game. Skipping over a lot of shit though. Resident Evil Resistance is just a bastardized version of Mercenaries mode and a horrible excuse for side content. It honestly makes me start to think if this was a mode that the devs even wanted to make in the first place. Maybe the corporate people over at Capcom forcefully put it in. I don't know. And honestly, I don't really give a fuck anyways. Fuck this game to the deepest, darkest pits of hell. Especially those microtransactions. Hell no, I ain't paying for that. I am no, never.
Ethan? Hey, shh, I know. I'm not gonna hurt you. Hell, I never would have if I could have helped you.
What do you mean?
I'm no killer, son. Neither is Marguerite. Nor my boy Lucas. Or even Zoe here. That girl, Evelyn. She did this. What the hell is she? And what did she do to you? She forces her way into your mind, your soul. You are connected to her, and you can't resist the urge to. Oh, you're a different person after that. You find her, you stop her. Ethan, free my family. Please.
Finally, after seeing the announcement over 6 years ago at E3 2016, I finally decided to pick up and play Resident Evil 7, the game that not only single-handedly revived the Resident Evil series, but might have damn near saved Capcom's ass as a whole. Definitely the Jesus Christ of the series as far as I'm concerned. Without any delay, however, let's get straight into it, man. Since this Resident Evil is a soft reboot, there were many changes to this game. One of these changes is the gameplay, and I'd say the biggest gameplay change by far is first person, with you going into Outlast mode instead of the classic third person modes. And honestly, while it's fucking insane at first, the clown vision over time starts to set in, and it adds a whole new layer to the circus. And while there still are a number of small changes to the game, this game is still mostly classic Resident Evil, with combinations, key items, collectibles, guns, bullets, boss fights, puzzles, backtracking, weird-ass creature design, to even an unstoppable freak-fuck killing machine that chases you around the level. So basically, there's not much you're missing out on. Of course, what would gameplay be without the level design, which in this game slaps fucking hard? This Resident Evil game takes place in the Louisiana Bayou, an area that in my opinion is very underrated when it comes to horror. The haunted house section of this game is fucking awesome. Kino, to say the least. Who knew that the most basic ass concept in horror would prove to be a great reset for the Resident Evil series? As far as other areas go in this game, it's pretty much the same compared to other Resident Evil games. Around the half part of the game though, the devs decided to get a little experimental.
Sounds like.
Hapygourious, I've returned. With that being Lucas's part. Instead of implementing typical survival horror elements like the first couple hours of the game, the devs decided to implement psychological horror into the game, adding small puzzles and traps that, unlike previous titles, are a little hard to figure out, especially the first time around. For some reason, this part where you fight the fat fucking blob monster for the first time reminds me of the Fallout 4 Nuka World boss fight. What? Bad comparison? Alright, fine. Jesus Christ. While I would have loved to see more of Lucas's part in this game, it's whatever. Still pretty cool stuff, but man, what comes after Lucas's part? Got the boss fight, that weird ass to set. No. 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 No, please. Don't do this. No. No. That's right. So after a certain cutscene that I'll talk about in a second, the game transitions into a huge fucking slog with Mia's portion of the game, which takes place for some reason on a fucking abandoned boat, and by God, fuck this part to hell. The reason I hate this part so much is because some fucking pig over at Capcom decided to put a flashback here. That's right. That means that you have to play through this godforsaken tin can, not once, but twice. Remixed. God. 10,000 years of plague and blight inside the K-lid on whoever the fuck decided to come up with this godforsaken, rotten idea. God damn it, dude. This boat section was honestly so bad for me that it honestly ruined all of the momentum the game had built up at this point. The end sequence, anything after the boat, I just didn't care about. It didn't hit the same as the first 5 hours of the game, which, hey, typical Resident Evil, right? But anyway, the only thing I slightly got disappointed by, especially in this game, is the fact that this shit just breezes by like piss on a toilet seat, dude. I went into this game expecting that it was only gonna be like 15 fucking hours or something, really long, but it ended up only being about 9. Even with all the secrets and puzzles, I still ended up wanting a lot more. Besides that though, the gameplay is fucking awesome. You should play it now. Of course, what would the gameplay be without some wacky fucking characters? And well, here we are. Since this is a soft reboot, many of the crazy characters of old do not appear. Oh my god, it's a random white guy. Instead, a new cast of freaks appear. You get to witness such characters as Ethan, Jack, Lucas, the cop, the old lady, the child, the fucking camera guy from Resident Evil 7, the fucking producer from Resident Evil 7, Mia, and of course, Zoe. Chris. Woo! Now I'd love to sit here and talk about Resident Evil 7's storyline and its different characters, but let's be honest here. You don't want that. You want the best part of Resident Evil 7, the only part that you should really be talking about, and that's the decision. That's right. Now I assume since you're a fan of this little gimmick here, that is Resident Evil 7, I assume you'll know what happens up to this point. So I won't summarize it and fucking bullshit for 6 hours on the storyline. Basically, after using one of the cures that Zoe created for her and Mia, you end up using on Jack in order to kill him. Which then leads to an interesting decision. You have only one cure left and you have to use it either on your wife that you came here to save, or some random bitch that's actually been helping you out a lot throughout this game. So you come at a very interesting standstill. Now at first this had come to a pretty easy decision, right? Mia is your fucking wife. You came here to save her. Why would you not pick Mia, right? But then you start to realize that if you read the lore throughout the game, then you're gonna start to question a lot of things. Like how Mia had a fucking chainsaw earlier and was trying to kill you clown style, and how she turned into a crazy bitch. Is she being controlled by somebody? Is she infected? Because if that's true, man, I don't want this bitch anymore, you know? But like I was saying earlier, you have Zoe here. Bad bitch, come on. I mean, come on, think about it. She's helped you throughout the entirety of the game so far. She helped you find the cure. She helped you find it all. Plus, God, she's a... So, my point is, though, it then becomes a very hard decision to make. Until you realize that the Zoe decision is not canon. I repeat, not canon. That's right. In the end of Zoe DLC, the first fucking cutscene, or whatever happens, pretty much confirms that Zoe was not chosen the whole time. That's right. The canon storyline is that Ethan ends up choosing Mia over Zoe, no matter what you do. You could pick Zoe, nothing. The story's wrong. You are fucking wrong. Essentially making this whole fucking decision cutscene a complete fucking waste of time. Well, enough about all that shit. It's time to talk about the coolest fucking part about this game. That being Jack and the Baker family. While Jack and his family definitely aren't the flashiest, nor the most iconic villains in RE history, personally, I believe that the Baker family is one of the most story-rich set of characters in the series. Not only are each of them interesting, but they're also funny as fuck. You will remember each of these characters, whether you like it or fucking not. But none are all the more memorable in my opinion than Jack. Jack, in my humble opinion, is one of the best Resident Evil villains of all fucking time. While you may not agree with me now, just fucking wait 10 years when the freaks that grew up with this game come out of the woodwork. Hey Jack. Hey Jack, I don't move. The dinner was done? Get the fuck in here, boy. Howdy!
This guy's awesome.
Real. Alright. You're wasting your time, boy!
Yo, watch out, don't die. No, it does not. This is not RE4.
Now believe me, when I tell you that I'm strongly under the opinion that whatever doesn't kill you makes you stranger, I really don't think that every antagonist in Resident Evil has to be an unstoppable freak fuck killing machine. With the writing being pretty decent at best, his story is a pretty tragic one. At first he just seems like some fucking asshole nemesis ripoff, right? Dodging bullets like a fucking bad habit, breaking through walls, holding that fucking axe. This dude's, whew, oh my god. But then once you kill all of his family members and him like a fucking serial killer, you actually start to realize that he's a pretty tragic guy, and it's all because of this fucking stupid child, dude. RE7 is a fucking awesome Resident Evil game. I'd go as far to say that it's one of my favorites. Unfortunately, it's my favorite only for the first 5 hours or so. After a certain point, the game just becomes way too bloated, eventually causing the story elements to fall flat on its face, and once that happened, the gameplay followed suit. Even towards the finale of the game, I just felt like something was missing. Real fucking shame. Anyway, I hope the sequel can do better at fixing all the... Wait, what?
What the hell? Mia?
Truth hurts, don't it? Let me guess. You're thinking, take me out like the others, and then he gets to go and save Rose, right?
I'm healing my daughter.
Look, You got the soul wrong. It's a mental. Shut your fucking hole! Lady, supersized bitch.
No place left to run.
Ugly ass psycho doll. And then moronic freak. Don't you get it? It's a test. To see if you're strong enough to be a part of Miranda's family.
I don't want to be a part of Miranda's family.
Neither did I, but here we are! And I'm next in line, right? Kill me, move up the chain. Oh, fuck that! You and me. Together, we can go and save roads, and then we can use her to grind Miranda into pieces.
My gun is not a weapon.
Fuck you! Last chance. You don't want to find out what's in that hole.
I'll take my chances.
You're futile.
Well, here we are, Resident Evil 8. Not only is it the youngest mainline entry in the series as of this recording, but it also seems to carry the most baggage when it comes to, yep, you guessed it, character writing and plot direction. But don't you worry, join me as I give my opinion on the most insane RE title to date, Resident Evil Village.
Whoever made this tier list needs to get a life.
That's what I've been. I think we need to get a life.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Don't know.
That's from the hentai, this one right.
Obviously, there are some pretty big changes when jumping over from RE7 to Village. One of these, in my opinion, is art direction. Right off the bat, RE Village easily topples over RE7 in terms of this. RE8's areas look so fucking good, I'd even say that it's one of the best looking RE games in the series. Easily. While I do think that snowy castles are a bit overused at times, come on dude, look at this shit. I straight up spent maybe an hour combined looking at this motherfucker in action. That shit goes the same way for other areas in this game as well. From the baby house, the factory, to the fucking swamp, they all go hard. Fucking hell. The factory part even looks like a metal album cover. That shit goes fucking insane, dude. Gameplay wise, there are a decent amount of changes compared to 7. The most monumental change by far is the fucking Duke. This guy supplies you with various weapons and food throughout the game, and honestly, I really enjoy this addition. While it definitely isn't a new change, it's certainly a welcome one, especially compared to the RE7 Zoe coin system of buying things. On top of that, there's a lot more weapon variety compared to RE7, albeit by a tiny margin, but nonetheless. Many things like the crafting system, weapon upgrading, inventory managing, key items, puzzles, all that classic RE shit is back, and most of it has been improved on. One of my favorite changes is the inventory management, which just feels a lot more smoother compared to 7's. Speaking of smooth, the overall pacing of this game is so much better than RE7's pacing. Holy shit. I never felt once throughout my playthrough that it was a chore to get through the game like I did with RE7, at least in its final 3 hours. While it was a little weird at first, I really think the game becomes its own after the Freak Fish section with Mr. Mordeaux, where instead of being an atmospheric horror type game like its predecessors, it instead becomes a fucking full-blown action-adventure game with fucking guns blazing and Transformers-ass battles. Definitely a big change from RE7's more liberal gameplay, which took a lot less risks than this one did. And I'm honestly all for it. A lot of people hated the factory part, but I'm on the contrary. I think it's probably the best part of the game. I'll horribly butcher what fellow YouTuber Neryl said in his review. Once you start to gain overpowered ass weapons like the Wolf's Bane, grenade launcher, all that survival horror atmosphere will slowly start to fade away. On the other hand, that Call of Duty Modern Warfare ass level you play as Chris is fucked up.
Everyone watch for hostile bioweapons. Roger. Made contact
the
with
fuck?
a group of hostile bioweapons. There's more than we
What the fuck is it? Hold on, you know what? I got the perfect music for this. this is way better. Hopefully I'll get enough points to get a kill streak soon. Oh shit. Juggernaut coming. I'll say what I said in my Not a Hero review, but if I wanted to play Call of Duty, I'd pick up Modern Warfare 2 or download Warzone. This part deviates way too much from where I wanted. But anyway, enough about the gameplay. It's time we talk about... Oh my god. She got shot and she didn't react. What?
Mia!
Oh my god. Oh my god. It's so fucking loud. Yeah!
I mean, they're just fucking shooting wildly in there. That doesn't... She was already down in there still.
No.
Mia. Oh god.
Oh my god, no. 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 No! Oh!
Oh my god! No!
Why you screenshot this?
Why?
It's real. I thought you got the thing that turned him into the baby and the baby.
Oh my god, I was not expecting that.
Go move!
It all makes sense now! It all makes sense now!
All clear. Rose?
What the hell you doing with my daughter?
Package secure. Take him away.
I said get your hands off her!
Ethan,
Oh my god.
no.
So if you didn't already notice, I made very light references to 3 very important characters in Resident Evil 7. Those being Ethan, Mia, and Chris Redfield. My reason is very simple for why I didn't mention them much, because they matter more here. Let's start with good old Ethan.
Cause I got a fucking bone to pick.
Ethan, throughout both games, first of all, is fucking awesome. You heard it here first. There are a lot of trifling ass motherfuckers out there who will say that Ethan is a pussy, and much like a lot of Reddit opinions out there, they are fucking wrong. Please, feel free to tell me what level of beta Ethan is at this scene particularly. Tell me, come on.
You and me, Ethan. Together, we go save Rose, and we can use her to grind Miranda into paste.
My daughter is not a weapon. Fuck you.
Damn, son. Yeah, that's what I fucking thought. Ratio. L.
You fell off.
Anyway, with all clowning ceased, I do like Ethan's character though. He's very different from your typical badass horror protagonist. He's a normal guy that got dragged on the clown ride, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's something endearing about a Alex Spencer type guy getting chased around by some fucknut with a hammer. That being said though, with all that, I just still can't get into Ethan. This dude is a boring ass motherfucker, something that plagues a ton of Resident Evil protagonists. There is almost zero qualities I can sympathize with or relate to. Even during Ethan's sacrifice, I didn't really get anything out of it. The dude wasn't really around long enough to establish himself to make me feel any sort of emotion. But I guess in the grand scheme of things, he wasn't as polarizing as this guy.
Oh my god.
Hey, Miranda. How are you involved? Leave it alone, Ethan. You are out of your depth. What about the
I
sample?
thought he was gonna say, you were out of your damn mind.
Depth. All of these like elite fucking armed soldiers he brings with him fucking sucking dick and doing nothing.
Yeah.
Ethan being worth like fucking 100 of them.
Yeah.
Wesker saved Ethan's life.
There was just like a frame where his mouth was just fucking wide open. That was funny as fuck.
What the fuck, man? Chris Redfield in these games is a whole fucking trip to begin with. Why the fuck is he in this duology, dude? If it's a passing the torch type thing, why? It's not like these games would have suffered without Chris. I think the name value alone and the big change up will assure people that these games will be fine, but I guess not. If we're gonna do the whole guest character from another game kind of thing, why can't we have someone like Ada Wong, like the concept art? Why not have someone like Sherry Birkin, for example? At least then you could have pulled the whole evil bitch kills your wife type thing and got away with it, but no. It just has to be the guy that's in 50 mainline Resident Evil games. Another pukin' shit pussy-footed decision going on over at Capcom. God damn. Another pukin' shit pussy-footed decision is the handling of Mia. Remember her? Well yeah, she gets kidnapped and fucking canned in jail for like the whole game. Remember when Mia could handle a PP Bison SMG and managed to fucking blow up creatures with landmines? Yeah, not in this game. Remember when Mia was a cool Secret Service fucking military agent that could do whatever? No, not in this game. She's down to a fucking bumbling housewife that gets fucking trapped in jail. Awesome. Awesome. You know what? Fuck this shit. I got more important shit to discuss right now. God damn it, dude. Oh, she didn't change.
$5.
Oh, at least she's got the hat.
Wait.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, she's way bigger.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
You escaped my little brother's.
That's fucking terrifying.
Let's see how special you.
She could literally like fucking, dude.
Oh, God.
One of her titties is like Ethan.
Yep.
No.
Oh my God. Yes.
There's nothing. Of course, how can we talk about RE8 without mentioning its pulping burst of freaks, such as Lady Dimitrescu, Carl Heisenberg, Mr. Mordeau, this weird fucking doll, and of course, Mother Miranda. To be honest, most of these freaks don't compare to the Baker family in RE7. Villains like the doll, Mr. Mordeau, or Mother Miranda just doesn't feed the troll the same way that Jack, Marguerite, or Lucas ended up doing in RE7. The reason I say this is because the Baker family all had a combined purpose, and it felt like they were always hunting you down. This game just kind of feels like a Saturday morning cartoon type shit, like you go from one freak to another and they barely have any connection in between. It feels like a jumble of ideas all combined into one. It makes no fucking sense to me. On the other hand though, Lady D and Heisenberg, no, now that shit's Kino. Heisenberg and Lady D are some of the coolest characters in the fucking series. Not only are both of them funny as fuck, both of them have had pretty interesting backstories, especially relating to Mother Miranda, and honestly, they really should have been the only two villains in the game if it were up to me. Fuck you, Mr. Mordeau. Sorry, bro. Well, after cutting out a bunch of shit, I can tell you that this is a weird fucking Resident Evil game. There are games in this series that are pretty easy to gauge. For example, a game like RE5 is a pretty shitty experience. There's maybe one or two things that are good about it, but come on, it's going low on the ranking. But RE8 is kinda hard to place, honestly. We're talking dead fucking center of the middle here. This game straight up borders on that masterpiece level, yet fumbles so hard with everything else. The old adage, it takes a village to raise a child, could not fit this game any fucking better. While the gameplay, graphics, and art design go hard as hell, I cannot say the same for other things in this game. Definitely the Twilight Zone as far as I'm fucking concerned. I gotta get out of this shit, please help. Great, another fucking rail shooter. This time around it's the Dark Side Chronicles. Well, there's really not much to say here. This game mainly chronicles, many different stories in the Resident Evil universe, such as how Leon met KRAUSER before Resident Evil 4, and for some reason, 2 remasters of Resident Evil 2 and Code Veronica. As I mentioned earlier, this game is a rail shooter. Honestly, after playing 12 million different RE rail shooters, I can safely say that this is a fine game. At least it gives a bit of backstory to how Leon and KRAUSER met, which is actually pretty important in the grand scheme of things, but besides that, there isn't really too much to say. I mean, if you're into Wii era rail shooters like Nerf N-Strike Elite, for example, that shit went hard by the way, then this is your kind of game, but if you're like the other 75% of us, then don't play this game, don't bother.
Jill, come on! Chris, this way. Make for that mansion!
March 22nd, 2002. The day everything changed. The day many got to witness the next evolution of the series. The day that RE1 released. The Resident Evil Remake status as a horror classic is well deserved. The survival horror mechanics are refined to a T, shit is dripping with atmosphere, characters are serviceable, and overall has some really great replay value. The visuals, while arguably dated by today's standards, help support the moody, morose atmosphere of the Spencer Mansion and establish this eerie, decaying atmosphere. The pre-rendered backgrounds serve to make each room and every camera angle feel uniquely creepy and are often littered with small details and bits of environmental storytelling. The fixed camera itself is potentially a turn away if you're a massive bitch or just used to more modern types of camera angles. However, I'd make the argument that due to each angle being a deliberate choice made by the developers on how they frame that particular scene in a game, it benefits the horror aspect in the sense that does have near total control on what the player can and cannot see. Adding onto the atmosphere is the soundtrack. The score for this game is completely fucking pure evil. And this is coming from someone who isn't easily scared, but I can name a few tracks off of this game's OST that really fucked with me in certain rooms. Like the guardhouse, or the room with the damn deer head, or the fucking shark tank. As for the writing, don't expect anything short of a basic story with plain characters. Story has never really been a strong suit for the Resident Evil games, especially the older titles, despite every event from every game and other forms of media being literally fucking canon and having a massive in-game universe. The story is kinda average. I've never been a stickler for story quality in video games, unless it's actually fucking awful, and legitimately gets in the way of enjoyment, but in the case of Resident Evil, the story is pretty simple, inoffensive, and provides a motive for the characters, which is all well and good. It's almost like they forgot that a game needs a story to drive the fucking narrative, and really just kinda feels like they made the game first than the actual plot. Like the whole reveal with Wesker being a double agent and working for Umbrella or whatever, and leading the stars to the Spencer Mansion just to test the combat effectiveness of the Tyrant seems kinda retarded, and as far as subversion of expectations go, I was just kinda like, oh alright. But at least it sorta makes sense. And how the fuck does Wesker survive this shit? He somehow walked off this high impact stomach damage blunt trauma like it's fucking nothing. The dialogue could be better, but again, Jill and Chris don't even talk much outside of cutscenes, and when those cutscenes do come up, they're usually pretty brief. Other characters like Rebecca, Wesker, and Barry are also alright, but their vocal performances aren't winning any awards. Personally, I sort of enjoy the campy dialogue, because it really only adds to the charm of the game for me. The Spencer Mansion itself, in terms of level design, feels like a never-ending labyrinth of hallways, tunnels, puzzles, doors, meat, traps, more doors, stairs, statues, even more doors, and galleries. This is something that was sadly lost when the RE games veered more into action survival horror. Some would argue for the better, but I say go fuck yourself. The open-ended design really makes you feel grounded within the actual world, keeping track of which key goes where, which zombies did I kill, which zombies did I not kill, which zombies did I burn, which hallway has that fucking crimson head, which hallway has those fucking dogs that burst from the windows. When you finally manage to get a good feel for the mansion, where shit is, overcoming the mansion feels that much more rewarding. The puzzles are pretty easy to grasp in this game, most of them demanding at most the cognitive ability of a third grader, although I will admit some of the puzzles in Chris's playthrough had me questioning whether or not I'm actually retarded. There's a fair amount of backtracking that you've got to do for some of the other sequences in the game, which can be annoying and confusing at times, but it's nothing to really complain about. RE Remake's gameplay is honestly what makes it stand the test of time out of everything I've discussed so far. Zombies will take your fucking bullets like they're being hit with a pillowcase full of Beanie Babies, health and ammo is scarce, higher difficulties will have you scrounging for every last bullet you can find. The smallest little fucking love tap can mean the difference between life and death. This game does not fuck around. Granted, it's not utterly impossibly, soul-crushingly difficult. There were times where I played it smart and had enough supplies for bosses and other encounters, and there were other times where I found myself simply fucked. The resource management really keeps you on your toes the whole time. Speaking of bosses, it wouldn't be a Resident Evil game without some boss fights. Yeah, woo! This game has a colorful assortment of boss fights from Fat Snake, Houseplant, Skin Lady, Fat Spider, and the Evil Fucker. What I like about these bosses as a whole is that each of these bosses attempt to appeal to some kind of general fear people might have. You know, snakes, spiders, women, etc. Fat Snake shows up twice and is a pretty standard, albeit unnerving encounter. It can poison you and is surprisingly agile for his size. The houseplant you can kill with some special fucking crackhead juice you can cook up in a lab, but I never figured it out with my pea-sized brain, so I usually skip all the nerd shit and brute force the encounter with a few magnum rounds. Lisa Trevor's encounter is the most nerve-wracking sequence in the entire game. Her entire backstory and even just general presence is so fucking unsettling. A feeling exacerbated by the fact that every run-in you have with her is accompanied by just complete silence. No dramatic swelling track, no musical stinger, just straight silence. And the Tyrant, at first glance, is a tremendous fucking letdown as far as final encounters go, since at first he just kinda saunters around the lab and lets you mag dump him to fucking Kingdom Come. But on the helipad, the real fight begins. This motherfucker grows this fucking Alex Mercer prototype ass claw on him and starts going fucking berserk. Overall, a fantastic encounter and a finale for the game. RE Remake fucks hard. Timeless gameplay, level design, and atmosphere. Also super replayable. I don't really know what else to say. Play now or die. I didn't expect to like classic RE2 going in. The gameplay mechanics seemed a little too archaic for my tastes, and I thought the visuals were just horrifically fucking dated. But I was wrong. This game fucks just as hard, if not harder than RE1. As far as first impressions go, RE2 starts you off with the biggest slap in the dick ever, that being the tank controls. This really wasn't too big of a roadblock for me, since I adjusted pretty quickly once I got the hang of it, so I don't consider it much of a drawback. This game plays on an upscaled version of RE2, so graphics weren't much of an issue either. In fact, the pre-rendered backgrounds in this game are fucking masterpieces. Some of these shits are packed with so much fucking detail, I was blown away, especially the Umbrella Lab area and certain shots in the police station. Right off the bat, the survival horror aspects in this game still hold up. Resources are scarce, zombies can take literal fucking mag dumps to the face and still eat that shit up and keep walking. There's the lickers, the dogs, the houseplants, spiders, roaches, you name it, it's probably in this fucking game. And of course, Mr. X, whose role isn't nearly as prominent as the remake, unfortunately, and I felt like he hardly had any presence within the police station. Dude literally shows up like 3 or 4 times, and you can just kind of walk past him, with the worst consequence being a mere slap on the wrist. He's still the final boss of Leon's campaign, but it's not nearly executed as well as I'd hoped. I would honestly rather take a giant fucking rock to my greasy cock and balls than ever fight Mr. X's final boss battle ever again. Birkin's final form at the end of Claire's campaign, however, had me on the edge of my fucking seat. His design goes hard as shit and actually feels like a fair fight, even when he transforms into a motherfucking feral freak in his second phase. Speaking of Claire, the 2 playable characters in RE2, Leon and Claire, feel way more thoughtfully implemented than other attempts at multiple characters in the older RE titles. Their respective campaigns actually play out differently, rather than just being the same campaign played with different characters, unlike RE1. Not only that, but you also have the choice of leaving behind items in your A run to your B run, which I thought was pretty cool. The voice acting is simply top fucking notch in this game. Capcom never seems to fail to deliver such thought-provoking dialogue, such as,
Claire? Where am I?
It worked!
Oh, Sherry. You're gonna be okay.
It worked!
I do unironically like the dialogue in this game, solely for the goofy-ass nature of it. Also, Claire's voice is kinda hot. When it comes to telling a story, the early RE titles don't go out of their way to build some giant, contrived, multiverse-level bullshit that the later games do, where like every event in every game is actually canon and somehow links back to Oswald Spencer and the mansion and the events of RE1 or some stupid bullshit like that. but instead of a pretty basic set of events that provide a serviceable plot to drive the events of the game, there's more stuff happening in the background with the Birkins and Chief Irons and a little bit of Hunk, and all that shit kind of feels more like plot devices than actual characters. While Irons being a serial rapist or whatever, or, you know, necrophiliac, I don't know, and the Birkin family drama is kinda interesting, the writing falls short and leaves their personal struggles and tribulations to kinda fall to the wayside. Now let me tell you straight, despite any grievances I might have had, I love this game. Its reputation as a classic is well deserved, and this shit is top tier survival horror even today. Its mechanics and visuals, albeit with some adjustments thanks to emulation, have stood the test of time, and RE2 remains one of the best Resident Evil games to date, and very few horror titles even come close to touching this masterpiece.
I need corn. Oh boy, just what I fucking needed in life. Another experimental Resident Evil game for the PlayStation 2. What could it possibly be this time? Well, if I got some news for you, it's Resident Evil Outbreak. To my surprise, this game is actually an online survival horror experience. Whoa. Your job? Simple. Team up with your fellow friends over broadband internet. And navigate over 4 different zombie-infested areas in Raccoon City. Seems pretty cool, right? Well, let's find out, I guess. The first thing that I fucking hate about this is, well, there's no physical way to play this game. Not only were the servers shut down a long time ago, but no one else owns a PS2 and has this game. So the only way to play it is through emulation, and holy shit, the emulation is damn near impossible. Thank you, Observe.org. But I am happy to say that once you finally get through all of these fucking issues, this is actually a very enjoyable Resident Evil game. Remember earlier in my Resident Evil 0 review when I said that co-op survival horror is ass? Well, Resident Evil 0 was only a piece of shit due to the fact that an AI was beside you. Well, now instead of that bullshit, there is an actual living, breathing human being teaming with you instead of that fucking shitty AI in Resident Evil 0. To be honest with you, I actually really enjoyed this game. A lot of the different co-op mechanics that are put in this game actually make survival horror a lot more tedious and a lot more fun than a typical Resident Evil game. Having to decide who gets what, who gets more heals, who gets more ammo, who gets the better guns, who gets the puzzle items, who doesn't, all that bullshit is actually a lot more exciting and a lot more entertaining. There are also some funny ass fucking weapons in this game. There's shit like brooms, spears, everything. Name something, it's probably in this game. It's fucking hilarious. Okay, the dildo bat is not in this game, but there's some funny shit in this game. The biggest issue I had gameplay wise though in the story mode was the level design in this game is some fucking ass, dude. The zoo level is fucking bullshit. I spent maybe 2 hours traversing this shit with a casual player, and this shit fucking sucks. Woo, it was horrible, man. Same shit goes for a lot of other levels in this game too, although there are some pretty interesting ones. There's actually a level I didn't get footage of where you actually start out in 2 different areas and you have to make your way back to each other. And depending on who's playing and the difficulty, it can actually be pretty tedious and fun to try and figure shit out, but besides that, shit's boring. There's also a boss rush mode which has you face different bosses from the series and also bosses from the game itself, which is honestly really cool. It really puts you on your toes and makes you think and decide, much, again, like Resident Evil 0 couldn't, you fucking assholes! But besides that, that's pretty much it. The biggest issue with this game and why it overall failed was because it released way too early. You gotta understand, back in 2005, the online functions for this game are fucking bare bones. There was virtually no way to communicate with someone back in 2005 since worldwide apps like Skype and Discord didn't exist back then. And since PlayStation Network was literally in its fucking infancy back then, developers couldn't integrate a voice chat into the game either. So you were stuck with the directional commands, which I don't even know what they were. So you would have been fucked either way. But Anyway, in modern times though, I don't know. It's a good survival horror, but I wouldn't go out of my way to play it if I were you. The story and the characters are fucking shit. There's literally nothing to be excited about in this game for. So that leaves you with, well, the gameplay. And honestly, with gameplay alone, it's not really worth playing this game. Go play a game like Resident Evil 5. Okay, never mind.
I want to find out what's happening here and stop whoever's behind it. Helping people like them? That's why I joined the force.
Well, hello, beautiful.
Finally, a Hapygourious favorite, Resident Evil 2 Remake. Much like some of the great regions of Clown City, I adore a great many things about this game, and right now I would love to talk about some of these, including the writing in this game is, well, simply superb. So good that even King Granitis the 32nd would have loved this story. There is never a moment during this game where I'm sitting down, looking at these characters going, what? Huh? Who? It is simply that good. Speaking of character work, the characters are really solid in this game. Our two protagonists, Leon Kennedy and Claire Redfield, are among some of the greatest Resident Evil protagonists to date. Thanks to the Kino writing and Kino voice acting, these characters go even harder. A breath of fresh air compared to most other Resident Evil games in my opinion, considering that they have a pretty piss poor track record when it comes to shit like that. And I think the same things can be said for other side characters as well. Unlike RE2 Classic, every single character has depth, albeit some more than others, but hey, you get my point. Even a character as simple as the mayor's daughter, who you don't even get to see in the main game, still has somewhat of depth to her. And that's just amazing. Almost as amazing as the buildings of Clown City themselves. Speaking of amazing things though, fun fact, did you know that when remaking Resident Evil 2, Capcom was actually going to implement the original fixed camera positions into the game? Well, I'm glad they didn't, because this gameplay is Kino. Coming from a game like Resident Evil 5 to this is like doing Adderall. It's fucking scary how much this game will really make you stop and appreciate Resident Evil and the survival horror genre as a whole. Alas, there was only one part that didn't really make me appreciate this game, and that was sadly the Sherry section. That was kinda stupid, I won't lie. I wasn't intimidated at all by the big sloppy form of mass that was named Chief Irons. Something I was intimidated by, however, was Mr. X. This man is one of the most intimidating figures since Steve Urkel walked the planet. Anyone who doesn't think that Mr. X isn't scary clearly has not played through hardcore mode. This man will relentlessly hound you throughout your playthrough, up until the very end, at least in Leon's route. Besides Mr. X, everything else this game throws at you gameplay-wise is genuinely amazing. The zombies take unearthly levels of punishment to kill. Licker's help mix up the action as well. The fights with Birkin are solid as well, especially G3. That shit goes simply bananas. Leon's final showdown with Mr. X has absolutely no right being as good as it is. From the style, the presentation, to the banger soundtrack. To simply put it, it is a god tier ending to a god tier game. Of course, we can't mention finales without talking about Claire, whose fourth fight with Birkin is also good too, but it hardly holds a key to the former final encounter with Leon and Mr. X. There's also the meat pussy throat fuck abomination boss at the end of the B-run, which really isn't a fight as much as it is just a victory lap. But with all that said, there is truly never a time while playing this game where I don't want to put down the motherfucking controller. It's that good. And I haven't even gotten to the sheriff, hunk, or the tofu survivor modes. These types of bonus modes adds hours of replay value to a game that is already well off in terms of runtime, and it's just genuinely fun. Despite some of the small issues I have with the Resident Evil engine, the graphics in this game are top notch. While Resident Evil 7 had some, well, rather unfortunate crack house graphics in a few spots, I thankfully cannot say the same for this game, Resident Evil 2. The developers really outdid themselves this time around when it came to recreating the apocalyptic-ass parts of Raccoon City. The art direction really shines like a damn floodlight when you look at the enemy design. From the zombies, the Licars, Mr. X, and other circus freaks have never looked better. One complaint some people have is the designs of the various faces you see in the game. While I will admit that characters like Mia, Trish from DMC5, etc. all look, well, not very good in their respective games. Fortunately, I can't say the same for this game. Most characters in Resident Evil 2 look great, especially compared to their 1998 counterparts. Like, god damn, this bitch Ada looks like a damn supermodel, god. Nonetheless, graphically, RE2 Remake looks positively fucking grand. Well, unfortunately, we are nearing the end of this video as I only have so much time, so Resident Evil 2 is one of the best remakes of all time, no doubt about it. The game successfully manages to stay faithful to the original 1998 release, something that few remakes / remasters fail to do nowadays. While I do have a few nitpicks about the game, in the grand scheme of things, that doesn't really matter. Resident Evil 2 accomplished what it set out to do and has become one of the best RE games to date, and in my opinion, the best RE game of all time.
It's over for me, champ. I can't box no more, champ.
Champ, I dropped the soap, I can't.
It sounds legit. It's like real life.
Ada! Ada, where are you? Over here!
Who's gonna answer it?
No one fucking uses voice chat anymore.
I can't get it out.
Fuck yeah, now this is a DLC I can get behind. As a part of Resident Evil 7's set of downloadable content, The End of Zoe, as you play as Joe Baker, the uncle of Zoe. Your task? Save Zoe by beating fucking swamp freaks with your bare hands. Fuck yeah, dude. This is the kind of shit that gets my glonk zoinked. Right off the bat, Joe Baker is by far the most based motherfucker of all time, bar none. This dude doesn't even appear for an hour and 30 minutes, and he's already the best character in Resident Evil 7. Hell, in the first 10 minutes, we get his entire motivation, his personality, and his moral of the story, which is family, which there's nothing stronger than, by the way. Not only is Joe so fucking base, but so is the gameplay. Instead of using guns, this dude uses his bare fucking hands to kick ass. Granted, over time you're given shit like spears, bombs, and even the power glove, but come on, dude. Nothing will ever be more satisfying than you beating the living shit out of the swamp man. Holy shit. Speaking of the swamp man, who turns out to be Jack for some goddamn reason, the story in this game is really fucking weird. There are tons of questions to be asked, but you know what? Who gives a shit? Resident Evil 7's End of Zoe DLC is incredibly fucking based. If you manage to suspend your disbelief for a little bit, then you will enjoy this way more than the main game. I fucking promise you, you will enjoy it, motherfucker. It's no surprise that RE4 is, without a doubt, the best Resident Evil game. Everyone involved in the making of this video knows it, everyone who's heard of Resident Evil knows it, and everyone watching certainly knows it. But up until recently, I have never touched Resident Evil 4. That's right. So why waste any more time? Let me pay admission to the circus and see why everyone indeed calls this the best Resident Evil game. Let me go play it. Let me go right quick. Alright, holy fuck.
You need to play RE4 like a murder simulator.
The combat in this game is fucking crazy. Compared to some of the newer titles out today, this shit just feels smooth, man. Fluid, some may say. Yes. I am a terrorist, how did you know? And I think that's in part due to the new additions like third person, kicking, laser sights, etc. The variety in weapon choice here is also fucked beyond belief. There are so many different ways to play this game. You can pull off a pistol only run, knife only run, RPG only run, a fucking no damage run. Anything is viable in this game. Nothing is stopping you, motherfucker. Of course, what you shoot is also fucked beyond belief. While the enemy design at first is pretty normal, shit starts getting Lovecraftian towards the middle part of the game. We're talking xenomorphs, crazy chainsaw guys. Okay.
Watch out, nigga. Go!
Terminators. No. Machine gunners. I was fucking born for this day, gentlemen. You don't know. Oh, Jesus. Cultists, giants, bugs, whatever the hell that thing is. This shit is fucking insane. It's brutal, man. Please tell me what that cave creature is. I need to know. While the story in this game is a pretty average RE game plot, what really makes this game special in my opinion is the writing. The writing is fucking awesome in this game. I don't care what anyone says.
Best line in the game coming up. Here we go.
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
Unlike a number of RE games, each character is memorable as fuck. There isn't one character you don't remember, even if they pop in and out from time to time. From Leon, Luis, Ada Wong, Sadler, KRAUSER, to that big bearded fucker, to the merchant, to even Ashley. No! A lot of people fucking hate Ashley. And personally, I'm kinda mixed on her. On one hand, the mechanics that surround her are kinda fucked up. There have been a ton of times where Ashley has caused my demise. But that's mostly also because I fucked up. I do think Ashley's mechanics are actually pretty well implemented into the game if you think about it. I like that Ashley will point out certain things like how to get out of a trap, having to ask you to catch her as you jump off a ladder, cause she's a fucking bitch. Now that I think about it, the AI work with Ashley was actually pretty well done in my opinion, at least for the time. It's damn near impressive how they were able to pull this off compared to other games during the era. While Ashley may be a whiny little damsel bitch, she plays her part pretty well. Good job, Ashley. Although I'm still not taking your whiny ass out to dinner, bitch. Just kidding. Have a good time, Ashley. Another part about this game I enjoy are the boss fights, and there are many bosses in this game, especially compared to the earlier entries in the series. And most, if not all, are pretty fucking good. From El Gigante, the homeless bearded man, the little fella, the big man KRAUSER, to even El Gigante and his brother, Queso Grande. Queso Grande. While most of these little fights themselves are pretty simple, I really do enjoy a lot of things around the bosses themselves. I love a lot of the arenas you fight in, like the burning fucking house or the giant fucking lava pit laid out. I really enjoy that shit. That shit's awesome. Good job, Miyazaki and Kojima. You did really good. Well guys, I guess that's it. Unfortunately we're out of time, and I can only say so much more, but I will say that RE4 is fucking awesome. Despite some minor inconveniences I have with this game, there's no denying that this game is fucking Kino, baby. This game changed the very genre it was in, and it might have damn near changed the industry too. There's so much shit I haven't even talked about, like the music, the level design, the HD mod, mercenaries, separate fucking ways, dude. I fucking love Ada, dude. Holy shit. Anyway, fuck time. Do me a favor, go and pop in RE4, play now. It's on any console, dude. Do it for me, motherfucker. You think I should record normal gameplay?
There's nothing wrong with this.
What if people find out?
Find out about what?
What if they figure out this isn't Jill?
Get the fuck out of my house! He'll come for your nectar!
Come on! Come on! Come on!
Shut up! Shut up!
Come on! Come on!
It's not playing.
Mango. 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 Mango.
Hello? R? This could be anything. Oh shit, I missed.
Damn! What the fuck? That is some Virgil shit. What?
Summon sword.
Oh, move!
Oh.
It all makes sense now! It all makes sense now! Up there. What the hell you doing with my daughter? Back to secure.
What just happened? What happened? Chris disappeared. The boulder one.